A very good evening to everyone. I am Kajal Wahi and I welcome all our attendees today to the special webinar on how to handle recent notices under GST. Just some ground rules before we start the session to get a flawless experience. All the participants will remain on mute throughout the session to avoid any noise disturbance. Please write your queries in the Q&A box. We will take it up at the end of the session. Before we start the session, I would like to invite the CEO and co-founder of TAXO and Bill Mantra, Mr. Manoj Kapoor sir, to say a few words with us. Sir, please
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you, Kajal. Hello, friends. We are organizing today program on special demand from our Taxo subscriber, and we also open this program for all of you because topic how to handle recent notices in GST is the most relevant topic in the today's scenario. As all of you aware that there is a thousand of notices issued by the department, and now all of us professionals have to handle these notices and have to submit these replies. So all of you need good case law libraries, good repository of notification circulars, and of course, good experts. Those can guide us how to handle the such notices. For case laws and repository of notices and circular taxo online is available to assist you anytime with the and right now we are also running the fabulous discount offers on the occasion of Diwali, for which those are not using the Taxo subscription, they can connect us on mobile number 9891005210. And I also put this number in the chat box. So you can connect us later on after this program or you can also visit our website taxo.online to subscribe with this subscription. And of course, very important is the guidance for which we have our renowned GST expert with us, CA Dr. Atul Kumar Gupta ji. So I will not take too much of time. And now over to Kajal continues this program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for addressing all the participants. Now, I would like to introduce today's speaker, CA Dr. Atul Kumar Gupta, sir. He is the past president of ICI and an indirect tax expert. He has renowned many books, published numerous articles, and delivered lectures in more than 1600 seminars and conferences. Sir, please welcome on behalf of the team TAXO and all the participants.
Thank you, Kajal. Very good evening, all my friends from the team TAXO and Manoj Kapoor ji and all my friends who are participating in this program. Dear friends, you can very well understand that in spite of this hectic Deepavali season, why this program is being organized, that we came across with a news that by virtue of the artificial intelligence, recently more than 56,000 notices by a single commissionerate has been issued to the various SSC. So practically the situation is that today the industry is having a more than a 1 million show cause notices issued by the department, and all are time barring. So practically in the income tax days, we were having the time barring kind of a mechanism. But now in the GST also, we have a time barring mechanism wherein you have to complete all the proceedings for all these show cause notice by 31st of December 2023. So now, my dear friends, it's one part that we have to reply and we have to see the time barring issues are there. But the most important aspect is that how we are responding to all those notices, whether the notices are a valid notice or not, number one. Number two, in case the notice is a valid notice, in that case, how to reply the notice is something that we need to learn. And then finally, how to handle the personal appearance, that when the physical hearing will be there, and not only the physical hearing, that is called PH, but also we have to see or ensure that if the matter will go to the higher forums, then we will be able to handle that situation as well. Now, my dear friend, as far as the litigation is concerned, litigation is a very big topic as far as the GST is concerned. There are 14 limbs of the litigation, starting from a coverage part to the assessment, audit, inspection, search and seizure, arrest, summon, and then move to the demand, recovery, provisional attachment and appeal, and finally the revisional authority. My dear friends, today we are not going to discuss all these 14 points, and our focus will be only and only on the issue that how we have to reply the various show cause notice, how we have to handle the show cause notice. That is the demand which is being created by the department. In the point number 10, you will find that there is a word called demand. So if the demand is being raised by the department, how to handle that demand is something that we are going to deliberate. Now, my dear friend, as far as the entire litigation part is concerned, you can see that the litigation, which starts from section 59 by virtue of the assessment, moved up to the section 121, meaning thereby that more than 62 sections are there in the GST. The total GST is around 170 sections, and out of that, 60 sections, if pertains to a particular topic, then that carries the importance automatically, which we all can understand. So, my dear friend, there are 62 sections which deal with the various type of litigation. But again, as I mentioned you, that we are not going to discuss the entire aspect over here, and we will be discussing only and only which are related to the demand or the show cause notice. So we will be more focused on this part, and specifically on the section 73 and section 74, wherein the show cause notice are being issued by the department in one go for the large number of assessees. Now, my dear friend, moving ahead, let us move ahead. Just a second. So let us move ahead and discuss. Just a second, please. Yes. So, my dear friend, I will just delete this. Yeah. So, my dear friend, I was just discussing with you that we will be focusing more on the demand side or a show cause notice and the reply thereof. Now, my dear friend, first of all, we need to understand some basic fundamentals that how these demands are getting created. So, my dear friend, you are aware that there is a concept called ASMT. Now, my dear friend, as far as this ASMT is concerned, you are aware that there is a section 61 which deal with the scrutiny of the returns, wherein the ASMT 10 is being issued by the department. So, what I'm trying to convey all of you, that when we are looking for a show cause notice, how the show cause notice getting originated, from where the show cause notice will come, how the show cause notice is being issued by the department is something that we should also deliberate upon. Now, my dear friend, when we are talking about a show cause notice, the show cause notice are practically the outcome of the 4 important events which we should be aware of. Number 1, when there is a scrutiny by the department and the department feels that the assessee is not complying with the requirement of the law. In that case, what the department will say, that if you are not agreeing with me and you are also not complying with, and you are also not paying the tax as I am demanding for, then option I have only the option available to issue a show cause notice to you. Meaning thereby, if the ASMT 10 is being issued and satisfactory reply is not being received by the department, meaning thereby the ASMT 12 is not being issued by the department, then they will issue a show cause notice. So what will happen normally, and then I will be discussing about that. The second glimpse will be the audit. That if there is an audit and the department is saying that in the audit I have certain paras, either the assessee has to accept those paras or the assessee will not accept those paras. So in case the assessee will not accept those paras, then also there will be a show cause notice. The third one, that when there will be an anti-evasion or any other inquiries are there. And finally, any other reason, say example, you have got the erroneous refund. So, my dear friend, in case of an anti-evasion inquiry or in case of an erroneous refund, in case the department feels that there is a short payment of tax or there is an evasion of tax, then also the department will issue the show cause notice. So, if in a layman language, a layman understanding, I will share with you that the show cause notice is the outcome of the 4 important pillars. When there is a dissatisfaction, there is a non-agreement between the assessee and the department, either during the scrutiny of the returns. Number 2, in the case of an audit as being conducted by the department, there is an anti-evasion exercise, or there is any other reason. For example, the artificial intelligence reconciled the 2A versus 3B, and based on that, they issued a large number of show cause notice. So, my dear friend, these are the reasons when the show cause notice are getting issued. Now, let us understand one by one all these 2-3 points which I discussed with you. As far as the scrutiny of return is concerned, my dear friend, you are aware that the proper officer, meaning thereby the person who is responsible, will be eligible to issue a scrutiny notice to the assessee. Now, what they will do, that in case they feel that, okay, there are some mismatch or there are some explanation which is required, or they feel that the quantification of the tax or the interest is wrong, in that case, the department will issue a ASMT 10. So, my dear friend, as we are getting in the income tax 143.2 notice for a scrutiny, similarly in the GST regime, if you ask me that how the scrutinies are getting conducted, so for the scrutiny, the notice name is ASMT 10. Now, my dear friend, once the department will issue the ASMT 10, what will happen? That the assessee has to submit his detail, whatever the explanation he is looking for, whatever the reply he want to give, or even the assessee feels that yes, there is a mistake on my part, then he will accept and pay. So how you will do this? That you want to give an explanation, or you want to give a clarification, or you want to say that okay, I am paying, then there will be a ASMT 11, meaning thereby your reply will be in the form ASMT 11. Notice is in ASMT 10, reply will be there in the ASMT 11. Now, my dear friend, what will happen that normally you are getting 30 days time, and the time can be extended further as the department may permit. Now, my dear friend, once the department feels that the explanation given by the assessee is acceptable and no further action is required, in that case, the department, what will the department will do? The department will issue ASMT 12. ASMT 12 is practically a order under section 143.3, like kind of a situation, wherein the department feels that, okay, it is completely satisfactory, a reply has been given and there is no demand is required to be created. But my dear friend, in case the department feels that there is a demand, or the assessee is not accepting, either the department assessee has not replied at all, or there may be a situation that the assessee is not taking the corrective action. He accepted that, okay, I have a demand, but he's not doing a corrective action, meaning thereby he's not paying the tax to the government exchequer. Or in case the reply which is being submitted is not satisfactory. So either he has not replied, number two, even if he has replied is not satisfactory, or even he is accepting that there is a demand, then also that he has not taken the corrective action. In those scenario, what will happen? The department will issue the proceedings under section 56, 65, 66, 67, 73 and 74. Now, my dear friend, it's very, very important for all of us to know that this is not a case. So there are many things which we need to discuss and deliberate over here. Number one, that when I'm talking about 65, 66, meaning thereby the department will say that after the scrutiny, because you are not agreeing with my requirement or you are not giving any reply to me, what I will do, I will issue a notice to conduct an audit. So either it will be a special audit by the professional or it will be an audit by the department. For that, the relevant section is 65 and 66. Now, my dear friend, in case the department feels that I have the enough evidences available where the demand should be created, then, my dear friend, the show cause notice will be issued by the department. And for that, there are the two types of show cause notices. Please remember. Number one, there is a show cause notice under section 73, meaning thereby there is no element of fraud, collusion, misstatement or concealment of facts which is being alleged by the department. Meaning thereby the department feels that there is some interpretational issue. The demand is a normal period demand, as we are aware that for the period 17-18, the normal period expires on the 30th of September. So now, my dear friend, there will be a question in your mind, or there will be a general perception in everybody's mind that now the demand for the section 17 for the year 17-18 cannot be raised by the department. But now, my dear friend, I wish to clarify you. No, it's not a case. The department today even also raised the demand under for the year 17-18 by extending by invoking the extended period, meaning thereby if the department will allege that there was a fraud, there was a concealment of the information or a misstatement was there, in that case, by invoking section 74, the department can raise the demand even for the year 17-18. So, my dear friend, I will explain you many times this aspect, but the only point which I will be reiterating again and again, that if the demand is of a normal period and there is no allegation of a fraud, then there will be a demand under section 73 and the maximum penalty will be 10% or 10,000, whichever is higher. But in case, my dear friend, there is an allegation of a fraud, collusion, misstatement or a concealment of fact. In that case, my dear friend, the demand can be raised by invoking the extended period, which is 5 years under section 74 from the date of filing of annual return. 5 years from the filing of the annual return. Now, my dear friend, in that case, section 74 can be invoked and the demand for an earlier period can be raised. Now, my dear friend, right now we are not discussing about section 73, 74 in detail. I will go again and I will again explain what is the meaning by section 73 and 74. But for the time being, just to share with you that if the department is not satisfied with the reply given under ASMT 11, then what will happen? The department will issue a show cause, will not issue a ASMT 12, but rather he will proceed to either for a special audit or a normal audit by the department, or he will the department will directly issue the show cause notice, which the assessee has to reply. Now, my dear friend, there are questions which may be raised by many of us. So I will answer the questions time and again whenever there will be a query. So I request you that don't wait for the last of the session. You may raise the query to the best of my understanding and able to capture the question. I will answer the same during the session itself. Now, my dear friend, coming to back. Now, the first part, when the show cause notice will be issued, is a non-reconciliation between the assessee and the department while there is a scrutiny of the returns under section 61. Now, my dear friend, as this section we are talking about, the department issued the various guidelines that, okay, how you have to handle the, because there are the allegations, there are the, I will say the discontentment, or I will say the non-agreement of the assessee that how these scrutinies are happening. So, my dear friend, just to share with you that the department has created, issued a guidelines as well, the SOP, that how you have to conduct the scrutiny. So they mentioned that when you are issuing the ASMT 10, it is very important that department is issuing the ASMT 10 based on the documents available with the department. They should not be calling first the balance sheet and then issuing the ASMT 10. Normally, the ASMT 10 should be based on the GST returns which are being filed by the assessee. Now, my dear friend, again, very important point, though these are the maybe academic in nature. Maybe in the times to come, you will agree with me that these all discussions are academic in nature, but just to share with you that the discrepancies mentioned in the ASMT 10 should be very specific. It should not be journeying that, okay, I have to check everything of yours. No, they should normally ask for that, okay, this is the exactly detail I am looking for. Otherwise, the assessee should say that please ask me the specific question because it's not an audit. When the audit will be there under section 65, 66, then I am liable to give the complete detail of my organization. But right now, you have to ask me a specific query rather than a general discussion. And even the SOP says that in case the assessee has deposited certain amount through the DRC 03, that should also be considered before serving the ASMT 10. So it's not a case that there is a gap between a GSTR 1 and the 3B and simply they will issue a show cause, they will issue a scrutiny notice. No. They should consider the ASMT 10 before ASMT 10. They should consider all the DRC 03 also, whatever is being raised, issued by the department. Now, my dear friend, coming to the next one. The next one, I have received 2 queries, but I will answer maybe after this slide. Now, my dear friend, as it is being there, that if the department feels that there is a further investigation required, then the matter can be referred to the audit or the anti-evasion department. And they are saying that it should be a time-bound process. Now, my dear friend, it's very, very important for all of us that in case we want to get a peace of mind, in case we feel that, okay, there should not be any non-compliance as far as the GST is there, so we should refer this SOP wherein the department has given that what I am going to check. So, my dear friend, the indicative list where the department is going to conduct a scrutiny is based on these following parameters. So, in case you are doing yourself all these audit regularly on a time-to-time basis, you are reviewing at your own time to time, then there will be minimum kind of a lapse or the omission on the part of the SSC. So it is better that we should be understanding that all these reconciliations are well done, well completed before time, before the inquiries are being initiated. Number one, ITR, GSTR 1 versus 3B. That okay, if there is any gap between the GSTR and 3BB, it is obvious that you will get a scrutiny notice. So there should not be any gap between the GSTR 1 and the 3B. Number two, normally what is happening that the SSCs are not aware that the RCM liability cannot be paid through the electronic credit ledger. That has to be paid in cash. But normally what they are doing, they are committing this kind of a mistake. So that should be taken care. Then, my dear friend, the mapping of the reverse charge liability in the 2A versus 3B, that is again relevant to this RCM aspect only. Then, my dear friend, not only the ISD, but as a normal, the 2A versus 3B, the credit from the 2A, which whatever the 2A is reflecting, whether we are taking the excess credit in the 3B or not, is something that we need to ensure. And even I can tell you that the time has come when the department is having such kind of intelligence or the system available that the moment some SSC, some supplier will went away, will go away, will out of the system, his registration got cancelled because of the certain non-compliances or maybe kind of some kind of a mischievous activity. In that case, my dear friend, our entire credit is something subjudicious, become subjudicious or subject to the litigation. So it is very, very important for all of us that we regularly review our all suppliers. There are many utilities available which can help you to see even the thousands of suppliers in one go, that you should check that on a quarterly basis or on a monthly basis or on a 6 monthly basis, that in the last 5 years to whomsoever I have purchased the goods or they taken these services, whether that supplier is now also active or not. In case his registration got cancelled, immediately we have to take steps to ensure that we are having sufficient documents available, or that whatever the liabilities are there, in case we feel that okay, ultimately this somebody is absconding and you will not be able to safeguard yourself, then immediately stop the interest meter and reverse the credit, whatever is the case may be. So my dear friend, it's very important that not only for the RCM purpose, our normal purpose, even for ISD purpose, our 2A and 3B should be matched. Then, my dear friend, the reconciliation of outward tax liability. Not only that we are looking for a taxable or exempted, but also the rate of tax also is very important. That whether the rate of tax 18% will be applicable or 12% will be applicable. Whether the activity which I am feeling is an exempted supply is actually exempted supply. Or in case I am feeling a zero rated supply, or the department is saying, no, it's an intermediary services and you are not eligible for an export of services benefit. All these things should be well taken care by all of us. Then, my dear friend, it's very important that the 3B data is getting with the e-way bill data. These days, with the intelligence available, even there will be an automatic show cause notice will be getting issued on this particular point. Then in the sale, you are saying this much of a value, whereas the e-way bills are not matching with the value of the 3B, though they may not be matching because of the many other reasons. But right now, this kind of automatic notices are prevalent. Then, my dear friend, as I mentioned you, the point as far as the ITC is concerned, that the ITC availed on the supply, ITC availed on the supply, wherein the vendor post effective date of cancellation of registration, meaning thereby that you purchased in 2019 from somebody and his registration got cancelled with a retrospective date of 1st of July 2017. Then, my dear friends, it's very, very important that we have to do a due diligence. There are the judgments available, which I am going to refer with you. The Ecom Gill, the Honorable Supreme Court judgment is there. The Diya agencies is there. The Hina medical judgment is there, wherein the Honorable High Court and the Supreme Court try to give a guideline to all the SSCs that okay, yes, I'm okay with this position that there is no mistake on the part of the buyer that okay, something some supplier has vanished. But it's very, very important also on the part of the buyer to give a proper documentation and the due diligence report in such a way that we will be able to conclude that this is a bona fide purchase. So, my dear friend, the onus to prove that this is a bona fide purchase is again on the part of the buyer rather than on the supplier. So, my dear friend, that's important. Then, my dear friend, you are aware that the ITC will become inadmissible after the 30th of November. So it's very, very important for all of us, as per the section 16, subsection 4, that any credit I have to take for the financial year 2023 has to be there by 30th of November, which is just a few days away. So it's very important that in the 20th of October return, we are taking the entire credit, whatever relates to the year 2023. Then, my dear friends, in case of import of goods, whether they are matching with the ICE gate or not is something very important. And finally, the 3 points. Number 1 is a ITC reversal. My dear friend, it's very, very important that in case I am dealing in a taxable and exempted supply, not only on a monthly basis, but also on an annual basis, I am doing a reversal of the input tax credit. As far as the goods are concerned, there is a rule 42, and the capital goods are concerned, there is a rule 43 which relates to. So, my dear friend, I request all of you that this is something a very, very important area wherein we find very many negligence on the part of the SSC when they are not reversing the credit as per the requirement of the rule 42 or 43. Then, my dear friends, interest payment on the delayed payment of tax or a late filing is something which is there. So, my dear friend, these 13 points are actually a guiding force for all of us. Is like a torch in the dark that shows us that in case you want to safeguard yourself from the audit, scrutiny, or anti-evasion exercise maybe later on, it's very important that these 13 reconciliations are available with us at every point of time, so that there should not be any mistake on our part, and then there should not be kind of an inquiry. Now, my dear friend, there is a question from Vinod Sharma ji that the practically department is not looking into ASMT 11, not issuing ASMT 12 and raising SCN mechanically. Vinod ji, you are right, and that's why we are discussing here that the department will certainly, the department is not looking into ASMT 11, but they are issuing the show cause notice in a mechanical way. But it is our duty that on behalf of the SSC that we have to prepare a good reply of the SCN, and that's why this program is being organized. There will be many kind of, I will say, the grievances, but today we are not able to, we will not be able to say anything, because that is the department call, that they are, whether they are looking for the ASMT 11 or not, because everybody will say, no, I have checked the ASMT 11. But our job is to see that whatever is there in our hand. In our hand, it is the good reply of the SCN, the good reply of ASMT 10. Now, the rest matters with the legal ecosystem of the country. Now, my dear friend, the next aspect which I feel that we should be discussing of, that after this case, now, my dear friend, there are many cases which are dealing with this, whether this ASMT 10 is correct or not. But right now, we are not discussing that particular aspect, because we have a paucity of time. We are looking for only specific purpose today, that how to handle these show cause notices. Now, my dear friend, this aspect I discussed with you, that in case of ASMT 10, what are the SOPs which are being issued by the department. The another aspect which I wish that you should be aware of is something about the best judgment assessment. Now, my dear friend, what will happen? That in many show cause notices, because the department is not, that there will be a common allegation by the department that I asked for certain information in the ASMT 10, that SSC not supplied me the information, and now I have no option available but to issue the show cause notice under the best judgment assessment, invoking the provision related to the best judgment assessment. Now, my dear friend, it's again very, very important for all of us that whenever you have the best judgment show cause notice based on the best judgment, it's very important that we should be suitably replying, we should be suitably rebutting this particular aspect, that whether you have provided all the information or not, number one. And number two, that before you are going into the merit, first endeavor of each one of you should be to give the complete detail of your turnover. So, my dear friend, let us assume that tomorrow, if the show cause notice will come for 18, 19, 17, 18, 18, 19, and 19, 20, what the department will do, that based on the 17, 18 turnover, if the department will say that I don't have the figure available for 18, 19, and 19, 20, they may take a hypothetical ratio, maybe 50% more than the turnover. So, what they will do is, if your turnover for 17, 18 is 2 crore, simply they will add 1 crore in the 18, 19, and then further 1.5 crore in the 19, 20, and will say that your entire turnover is 4.5 crore for 19, 20. Now, my dear friend, there may be a situation that even the total turnover will not be like this for these years. So, there will be a fix on the SSC, because there will be a huge demand. So my dear friend, in these cases, it's very, very important. The assessee has to give a duly certified financial statement to the department in the reply of his show cause notice and say that before I going into the merit of the case, I am just wish to convey you that this is my actual turnover. So it's very important, because otherwise what will happen? You are aware that if the department will assess your case with that kind of a best judgment, there will be a requirement of pre-deposit to go for a higher forum. And if you will go with a higher forum at any point of time, there will be a pre-deposit requirement of even a 20%. Meaning thereby, if you are having a liability of 2 crore rupees, you have to do a pre-deposit of 40 lakhs before filing the appeal to the tribunal. And that will be a very kind of a, I will say, a very inconvenient situation for the assessees. So my dear friend, this best judgment assessment is again very, very important to handle in a very, very cautious way, so that there should not be any kind of a situation. The department also given the common principles that, okay, when you have to invoke the extended this best judgment assessment, and they have given that, okay, you have to be a very reasonable and the material evidences should be available. But nevertheless, I just wish to share with you that this kind of a situation is there. Now, my dear friend, coming to the second part. The second part is an audit by the department, which will also reach to a situation when there will be disagreement between the assessee and the department, and then the show cause notice will be issued. I just wish to give you a very, very brief about the audit, that there are the two types of audit from the department. Section 65, which deals with the audit by the department, and Section 66, when there will be a special audit by a chartered accountant or a cost accountant on the behest of the department, and then there will be a show cause, there can be a show cause notice by the department. So my dear friend, just to share with you that these two sections deal with the audit by the department. Now, why I am discussing this all you? Because ultimately in the audit, likewise in the scrutiny of the return, again the department has given in the law itself that what you have to check. And my dear friend, these are the 4 points. I will say these are the 4 points or the 5 points which the department will be primarily looking for when there will be an audit. So what you have to do, that you have to do preempt, that you should be aware of that, okay, this is going to be checked. And that's why there should be a pre-audit by the assessee itself on a regular basis, so that there should not be any kind of a lapses tomorrow. For example, the turnover declared. So the department will come and see the correctness of the turnover declared, whether the turnover matches with the balance sheet. Number 1. Number 2, even whatever the turnover you have declared in your GST R1, saying it is my exempted turnover, it is my zero rated turnover, it is the rate of tax, it is the something the reverse charge mechanism, everything will be reviewed by the department. Then the tax is paid. Whatever the taxes you are saying that I have paid with the cash or in a ITC is something going to be reviewed. And finally, the refund claim, whatever the refund claim the assessee is looking for. ITC I have already covered, that there are the many things in which the ITC will be reviewed. Say for example, Section 16 deals with the eligibility part, that okay, whether when you are looking for a credit, that credit should be related to your business. You should have a valid document available. You should have received the goods or services as the case may be. Number 4, that the supplier has paid the tax or not, and you have filed the return under Section 39 or not. And finally, the credit has to be taken by 30th of November. So my dear friend, these are the 6 eligibility criteria. Then the department will check the 180 days requirement, that in case you want to retain your credit, you have to pay within 180 days from the date of invoice to the vendor. And finally, the Section 17, which deals with the Rule 42, 43, that the proportionate credit, the block credit. So all these things will be reviewed by the department when they are going to verify the correctness of your records as far as the audit is concerned. So my dear friend, these are something which the department will check. One more thing which is very, very important we should be aware of, that the department can conduct the audit in any of these places. So these all places are called the place of business for the SSC, and that includes the business from where you are doing a business, your warehouse, your books or accounts are being maintained, or in case you are dealing with through an agent, then the place of the agent is something that will be called as a place of business, where the audit or the scrutiny or the search can be there. Now, my dear friend, as I mentioned you, that in case the assessee feels that, okay, I am not agreeing with the findings of the department, there is a disagreement between the department and the assessee. In that case, my dear friend, what is going to happen? That there will be a show cause notice. So, my dear friend, if there is no finding, no known compliance is there, audit will be completed and they will be issuing a ADT 02. But in case the SSC agrees with the finding teams and deposit, then also there will be a edit too. But when, my dear friend, the SSC doesn't agree, as you can see on the screen, the SSC doesn't agree with the findings of the audit team. In that case, there will be a show cause notice by the department, again under section 73, 74. Now, my dear friend, whenever I'm saying section 73, 74, I just wish to clarify you that these are the two different type of show cause notice. One show cause notice, when section 73 I'm dealing with, it says only the short payment of tax. It says the short payment of tax. Whereas in case there is a icing on the cake, meaning thereby there is a allegation of a fraud, in that case, the same notice will be issued under section 74 for an extended period. So normal period of demand will be there in the section 74. For a larger period of demand will be there under section 74, which is something that we should be aware of. Now, my dear friend, as far as the audit are concerned, there is again a special audit by the SSC, by the professionals will be there, for which I have prepared this presentation, which clarify everything. Now, my dear friend, let us move to the next part. And then there is a power of inspection. I will just touch upon the power of inspection. Why I am saying so? Because this also culminate into the issue of the show cause notice. So, my dear friend, whenever there will be an inspection by the department, there will be a search and seizure. There will be the inspection of goods in the movement. Say, for example, the goods are moving from one place to another place, or there are some other inquiries are there. Ultimately, what will happen? The all will lead to ultimately the issue of show cause notice. Now, my dear friend, since the today topic is not how to handle the inspection or the search and seizure, so I'm not touching upon, but just to share with you, as I mentioned you earlier, that the inspection can be there in all these places as being given, because these are all called the place of business. Now, my dear friend, I will show you one slide which actually give you the gist of the discussion as far as the section 73, 74 is concerned. Let me take you to that slide. Yes, madam, my dear friends. Now, this slide is very important because this slide is actually exhibiting what I discussed with you in the initial phase of my discussion, that there will be an assessment. So, in case there is a SMT 10, which is being issued by the department, or there are some other assessment proceedings are there, and the department is not satisfied. The officer is not satisfied with the reply of the SSCs, the submission of the SSC, he will be issuing a show cause notice. In case the audit is there, then also issue there is a regular inquiry or any investigation is there or any other proceedings are there. So, my dear friend, in all these cases, if the department is not satisfied or there is a disagreement between the department and the SSC, then the department is going to issue the show cause notice, which we are going to discuss here. And then you have to submit a reply to the department, and based on this reply, what will happen? There will be a personal hearing, there will be a regulatory requirement that the opportunity of being heard should be provided to the SSC. So, in case you are getting any order, which I will going to explain you further later on, that if you are getting a show cause notice in a summary way and the assessment order also in the summary way, that is bad in law. Unless and until the opportunity of being heard is not being provided, any order being issued by the department is bad in law, and you can very well challenge. That is going to be remand back for sure. So, it's very important. So, my dear friend, what will happen once the personal hearing will be there? Then there will be adjudication order which the department will issue, and for that you can go with the first appellate authority. For the first appellate authority, again there will be a requirement of a pre-deposit where also the opportunity of being heard will be there. And in case the assessing officer, then the appellate authority will issue the order in original, and which can be challenged before the tribunal. And then also there will be an opportunity of being heard will be there. And finally, if the tribunal is also not giving you relief, you can go to the High Court and Supreme Court, and finally the matter will attain the finalization. So, my dear friend, this is something was there for as far as the process of the litigation, which is there once the show cause notice is being issued. Now, my dear friend, let us understand what is this show cause notice all about. So my dear friend, just to share with you, these two important sections are there as being given. SCN in a non-fraud cases will deal by the section 74. And when there is an allegation of fraud, then there will be a section 74 which we are dealing with. Now, my dear friend, let us give a pictorial diagram, pictorial exhibition of the points which I mentioned with you. So, my dear friend, in case there is an audit by the department or there is an investigation, there is a ASMT 10, and the department feel that there is a tax is not being paid or short paid or a refund is being erroneously refunded or ITC is wrongly utilized. But there is no icing of the cake, meaning thereby the allegation of fraud, willful misstatement or a suppression of fact is not there. So in case it is not there, then what will happen? If the no, then the notice will be issued under section 73. My dear friend, it's very important that we should be aware of that how to differentiate the notices which are issued under section 73 and the notices which are issued under section 74, and then accordingly we should prepare our reply. Now, my dear friend, in case you want to understand what is this notice under section 73, there are the 2 or 3 important characteristics which differentiate between the notices under section 73 and 74. Number 1, that if the there is an absence. So if there is an absence of fraud, willful misstatement or suppression of fact, the department will issue the show cause notice for a normal period. They can issue only for a normal period. Say, for example, they want to issue a show cause notice for the 17-18 today. They want to issue the show cause notice for 17-18 today. On this, today we are living in a, today's date is 3rd of November 2023. Now, my dear friend, the normal period expires on the 30th of September 23. Now, my dear friend, in case the department wish to issue the show cause notice for 17-18 under section 73, that is not permissible because the normal period now become a time barred. Okay. Now they have only one option available, that they have to allege that there was a fraud, willful misstatement and suppression of fact, and that's why I want to issue a show cause notice for the year 17-18. Okay. But for that, they have to invoke under section 74, meaning thereby, yes, there is a fraud, and then they will be issuing the notice under section 74. Number 1. So meaning thereby, the difference between section 73 and section 74, that when there will be a allegation of fraud, the notice will be issued under section 74, otherwise section 73. Number 2, that when we are talking about the penalty part, so what is going to happen, that in case of a notice under section 73, the maximum penalty which is available is 10% or the 10,000, whichever is higher. So maximum penalty is 10% of the demand. But under section 74, the penalty value can be up to 100% of the tax sought to be evaded. So my dear friend, I just give another way, that the normal period for the show cause notice is 3 years. That is under section 73. But in case the department will invoke the section 74, then the period for which the demand can be created is 5 years. Then, my dear friend, that in case of a passing the order, time limit for passing the order, for the normal period it is 3 months, but for the extended period it is 6 months. Penalty, this is 10% of the tax or 10,000, whichever is higher. But here you can have a 100% of the penalty, the tax sought to be evaded. Yes, there are the slabs available that in case you deposit the amount before issue of show cause notice, then penalty will be 15%. Within 30 days from the issue of show cause notice, 25%. Or within 30 days from the order which is being issued by the adjudicating authority, then the penalty deposit, the amount deposit of tax can be deposited along with a 50% penalty. So my dear friend, this is the difference between section 73 and 74. Now here, I just wish to convey you that whenever you are contesting a particular show cause notice, wherein the section 74 is being invoked, it's very important that we have to do that. We have to set our home right, meaning thereby, we have to check why this allegation of fraud is there. And in case we want to safeguard ourselves from an allegation of fraud, it is very, very important, my dear friend, that when we are filing our return, not only we are filing our return well in time, but also we are depicting the entire information in our GST return. Normally, what is happening that, say for example, I have a turnover of rupees 1 crore. Out of that, 70 lakh is taxable and 30 lakh is exempted, as per my opinion. But my dear friend, if I am doing only the depiction, meaning thereby I am declaring only the 70% of my taxable turnover in my GSTR return, and 30 lakhs which is exempted, I am saying it is not required to be declared. In that case, there will be a charge of a concealment of information. How the department will be able to know if you have not given that information in the GSTR that you are claiming certain exemption? So that's why then there will be a charge that there was a concealment of the facts, or there was a suppression of the facts. So my dear friend, is one important aspect which will safeguard ourselves from this extended period, that is section 74, is something that not only we are filing our return well in time, but also we are declaring our returns, or declaring our transaction or a turnover well in the all the GSTR returns which we are filing with. Number two, that whenever there will be a case that the department is asking for certain information or the balance sheet, that should be supplied well in time. That is something that will safeguard us, that okay, I supplied the entire information when the department was asked for. So my dear friend, this is something very, very important aspect that normally we are witnessing, that the assessees are not filing their returns, they are not getting registered, or then they are filing the return with a half-hearted, with less number of details. Then there will be always an allegation that there is a suppression of facts. That's why section 74 is inevitable. So my dear friend, this is something that we should be aware of. Now, my dear friend, coming to the once this is something there, then my dear friend, but how we have to reply the show cause notice. Now, my dear friend, the first part which I wish to share with you, as far as this contesting the show cause notice is something that we are going to discuss. Now, my dear friend, it's very important that in case the department issue a show cause notice for a period, earlier period, meaning thereby, say for example, for 17-18, the department issue a show cause notice on 30th of September. Now, my dear friend, for the 18-19, the department is supposed to issue the show cause notice by 31st of March 2023. But the department here issued the show cause notice, say for example, in 2025 by invoking section 74. Okay. So whether they can do? The answer is no. Why so no? Because the department was fully aware. The department was fully aware about your facts and the information that you are dealing in this particular type of transaction. And they feel that the similar issue, the similar type of transactions are there in the next financial year as well. So meaning thereby, in case you are not paying the tax even in the next financial year also, after the issue of show cause notice, meaning thereby that the department was fully aware and there was a bona fide belief that this activity is not taxable. So my dear friend, it's very, very important that when the department issued a show cause notice for the earlier period, for the next period, they cannot invoke the extended period. Number one. Number two, my dear friend, I just wish to share with you that to safeguard yourself from section 74, it's very important that whenever the department is issuing you SFD 10 or there is an audit being conducted by the department, we should have a closure report. Because in case you have a closure report in the shape of a ASMT 12 or in case of a ADT 2, then you can always argue with the department that even if after the scrutiny of my data, whether in the scrutiny section 61 or under section 60, under section 65, you also verified my information and you are not able to say that there is something a known compliance of the law. So both the department and the SSC were of a bona fide belief that particular X turnover, the X turnover is not subject to GST. And tomorrow, after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you are saying, no, I will invoke section 74 because there was a malafide intention, there was a fraud. So my dear friend, in case I have a conclusion report for ASMD 10, that will also safeguard you from the invocation of section 74 for that particular period, wherein the department conducted the inquiry of the SSC. Similarly, ADT 02 will also safeguard you. So my dear friend, this is something that we should be aware of. Then my dear friend, as we are aware that we have a circular number 183 We have a circular number 183. No, I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about the circular number 171, wherein the department mentioned that in case there is a allegation of fake invoice, then not only the buyer has to reverse the entire credit along with the interest and penalty, but also the supplier will be subject to the penalty under section 122. So, my dear friend, the law says that when the proceeding of the main show cause notice will be concluded, say for example, the buyer notice got concluded, meaning thereby there was no approvance of the allegation, meaning thereby the allegations could not be proved by the department, and the assessee won the case, the buyer won the case, then automatically this 122 will be getting concluded, will be treated as concluded. Then, my dear friend, the department here also explained what is suppression means. As I explained you, that in case something you have to declare in your return or in certain reports or some documents you have to submit before the department. And if you are not doing that, meaning thereby you are filing a half-hearted return or you are supposed to submit certain information you have not supplied with, in that case, my dear friend, there will be a case that you have a suppression. Now, my dear friend, coming to the certain other parts. Now, this is something that I am going to discuss you in detail. Now, my dear friend, when the show cause notice is being issued by invoking section 74, the first role of every assessee or the consultant should be to see that how to rebut that there was a charge of a fraud, willful misstatement, or a suppression. So that it is very, very important that when we are preparing a reply, the first counter should be on this aspect, that whether the section 74 should be invoked. Because, my dear friend, number one, that in case you will be able to contest this section 74, meaning thereby you have given all the details in your GST return, you have a edited 02 or ASMT 12 of that particular period available, you have supplied all the information which the department is being asked for, then you should challenge that there is no element of a mala fide intention. So now the word is mala fide or the word is the mens rea, meaning thereby we have to prove that there was no ill intention. Mens rea means ill intention. So there was no mens rea was not there. There was no mala fide. And I declared all my returns as per my understanding. Say for example, I treated certain turnover as exempted. I declared the same in my GSTR return. Now tomorrow after 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, you are saying, no, your turnover was not exempted. But my dear friend, as per my understanding, my bona fide belief was that this turnover is exempted. And that's why I not only treated the same as exempted, but also I declared that into my GSTR as well. Now tomorrow, if after 5 years you will say, no, it's wrong, then it may be a bona fide mistake. But it cannot be, you can't say that there was a mens rea or there was a mala fide intention. And that's why the no fraud or willful misstatement or suppression of fact can be proved. And accordingly, the notice under section 74 is not a valid notice. So the moment this will happen, I just wish to share with you that what will happen. Let's say, for example, there is a demand for 1718 to 1920 in the year 2025. So what will happen, that only the normal period of demand will survive, and the extended period, whatever the extended period is there, say for example in 2025, the normal period talks about the 2022 only. So in that case, the demand up to 2022 only will survive. Any demand prior to this period will not be able to survive, and you will win the case. So my dear friend, it's very important that whenever there is a charge of section 74, not only for the purpose of penalty, because you will be going to pay a 100% penalty in case the section 74 will be proved. So not only the penalty we are discussing about, even the demand can be restricted to the normal period if you will be able to prove that there was no fraud, willful misstatement or suppression of fact was there. So my dear friend, because of these two aspects, I just wish to share with you that this is something that very important we should be aware of. Now, my dear friend, coming to the next one, that the adjournment. Now, my dear friend, in many cases, we witness that the department is issuing the PH notice, that is the personal hearing notice, but the assessees are not responding, or they are not aware even, because at times the notices are uploaded on the system itself. So, my dear friend, it's very important that we should have a habit to review our portal on a time-to-time basis, because I witnessed the thousands of cases wherein the department issued this notice, issued the date as well for a personal hearing, and finally, when the recovery started by the department after the adjournment, after the adjudication, then the SSC is coming to know that there was a demand is being created, notice was issued. So it's very important that we should be looking into our portal on a regular basis, and the maximum 3 adjournment can be taken by the SSC, and after that there will be ex parte order. And I just wish to share with you that in case of there is a ex parte order at the lower level, then there will be a poor chance that you will be able to get the benefit at the higher level. So my dear friend, it's very important that we should not miss the opportunity. We should not miss the opportunity to say, to appear everything we wish to. Then it is the duty of the department to issue a speaking order. The single 2-liner order will not serve. There should be an application of mine. Now, my dear friend, there are this particular aspect I wish to share with you. Now, the order cannot travel beyond the SCN. Now, my dear friend, what is SCN means? Show cause notice. Now, my dear friend, there will be the many circumstances when the order can be there, which is traveling beyond the SCN. For example, that the department is creating the demand in a particular HSN and saying, or. So, the department is saying that your activity can be there, say, for example, in the business auxiliary service, or your service can be there, or can be there in the business support service. So now, my dear friend, the point which you should argue that even the department is not aware. There are the many judgments which can help you. Even we are contesting on a day-to-day basis that even the department is not aware that under which category my activity will fall, and you wish to assume that I am more knowledgeable than the department. No, it can't be there. So, my dear friend, whenever you have this kind of a or word is being used, or the word may is being used, then, my dear friend, you should argue that this show cause notice itself is bad in law. Number 2, that the department created the demand, say, for example, in the case of a manpower supply. Okay, the department is saying that the person is providing the manpower supply. You argued the case, and finally, in the order in original, the department saying, no, it's a cleaning service. Now, my dear friend, there are the 2 different service altogether. The show cause notice was there in the manpower supply. The order is there in the cleaning service. It is something that the order traveled beyond the SCN. Then there is a demand of the show cause notice for the 1718, and the order is giving a demand for 1718 and 1819 also. Is again the order traveled beyond the SCN. So, my dear friend, this is one very, very important point that you should be aware of. That whenever you are contesting the cases, you have to be have the knowledge that whether the show cause notice, what the show cause notice was asking for, what the order is being pronounced, and whether the order traveled beyond the SCN or not, whether the SCN is a valid SCN or not, is there ambiguity is there in the SCN. So, in case there is an ambiguity in the SCN itself, then also you should argue the case accordingly. Then, my dear friend, the adjudication proceedings has to be completed by the department well in time. And in case the department feels or the SSC feels that there is a grievance, then they can file the appeal before the authorities. One thing which I wish to convey you, my dear friends, that at times there is a gap. There is a gap between the GSTR 3B and the GSTR 1. Then, my dear friends, say for example, you are saying that I am supposed to pay. Let us assume that you are saying that I am supposed to pay 1 lakh rupees, whereas I paid only 30,000 rupees. Now, whether the department will issue the show cause notice, or there will be the recovery proceedings the department can initiate. So, my dear friend, in case the self-assessment tax given in the GSTR 1 versus 3B is not paid, then there will be a case of a direct recovery and no show cause notice is required to be issued by the department. So, it's very important that we should be aware of this particular aspect, so that there should not be any mistake tomorrow, or kind of there should not be any kind of grievances among us as far as this aspect is concerned. Now, my dear friend, coming to the next one, I just a second. Yeah. Now, my dear friend, coming to the next one, I will be discussing you the certain judgments later on, which will help you to understand. Now, my dear friend, this is the procedure of the show cause notice, which I explained you earlier. I have to now coming to the last leg of our discussion, that is the reply of notices. Now, my dear friend, we are aware about that section 73. What is section 73? How the notices are coming. So I covered the by this time that how the SCN or when the SCN will be issued by the department. Number one. Number two, what is the different two type of SCN? Two type of SCN I discussed with you. And number three, that the SCN, whether bad in law. So whether the SCN itself is bad in law is something that we discuss and deliberated. So we discussed when the SCN can be issued for different reasons. The two type of SCN, section 73, 74, and when the SCN will be treated as bad in law is something also we deliberated. Now, my dear friend, coming to the next one, that how to reply the notices. Now, my dear friend, it's very, very important for all of us to understand and learn that when we are replying the show cause notice, our golden words are, or the golden, I will say the written on the wall is that the spoken words fly away and the written words remain, meaning thereby. At times, we witness that the department is issuing a show cause notice of 40 pages and somebody is giving a reply for only 2 pages, assuming that whatever I have to say, I will say when the personal hearing will be there. Now, my dear friend, in the case of a personal hearing, because everything will be spoken and the show cause notice order, the order in original, meaning thereby the adjudication order of the show cause notice may take few months. Nobody is going to remember what you have mentioned at the time of the personal hearing. Even the times will be the case, there will be the case when the superintendent who was participating in that hearing maybe got transferred and still. So what will happen that there will be a situation that somebody will say that, okay, I don't remember. So my dear friend, it's very, very important for all of us that we have to see whatever we want to say, we have to say in writing. Number two, that whenever you are making any reply, so it's not a case that, okay, you will be whatever, like you want to say, you will say in 2 pages only. No, my dear friend. In case there are the 20 allegations are there in a show cause notice, my dear friend, with taking a pencil, you should read the show cause notice thrice. You should need the show cause notice thrice and identify all the allegations given in the show cause notice, whether the allegation is about the non-taxability, non-cooperation, malafide intention, penalty, or anything is there. My dear friend, we should read all these 20 allegations, and then when we are preparing the reply, we should give the reply of each and every allegation, giving 2 very, very important points, that the para of the allegation, number 1, and number 2, that you should give a heading of every reply. That now I am taking the allegation of a malafide intention. Now I am taking the allegation of a non-taxability. Now I am taking the benefit of allegation of whether the activity is exempted or not. So, my dear friend, you should have given a heading like a paper. When we are appearing before the professional examination, what we are doing, that at times we are preparing the heading and then we are start writing. So, my dear friend, that not only we have to refer every para of the allegation, we should give the list of all the 20 allegations in the show cause notice, but also we should have a proper heading of the every reply what we are doing. And then, my dear friend, unsubstantiated, meaning thereby the reply should be substantiated with certain evidences. For example, you want to reply, you want to use a particular notification or a circular, or you want to refer a particular definition, or you want to use certain jurisprudence, meaning thereby you want to refer certain judgment. Now, my dear friend, you can't say that, okay, this is the law of the country. No, you have to substantiate your reply with the relevant evidences, whether it is a definition, circular, notification, or a judgment. And it's very important that you reproduce that particular reference. Say, for example, you want to refer a judgment, then you should reproduce the portion of that judgment, which is the I will say the held, that the honorable court upheld or held that this is not taxable. The refer para 4.6 and then give in the italic that particular para, reproduce that para in your reply. In case you want to refer a particular definition, you reproduce that. In case you want to follow a particular clause of a notification, reproduce that clause. It is not that you will reproduce the entire judgment or the entire notification. The relevant para, give a notification number that I want to refer a notification number 12/2017 and the clause 4 which says as under. So which says as under, and then give a inverted comma the particular I will say the copy of the portion of that notification or a judgment into your reply. So the unsubstantiated reply will not win the case. So you will not be able to win the case. So it is very, very important that you substantiate your reply with a relevant notification, circular, FAQs, any other earlier judgment or something like that. Even the judgment relates to the prior period of the GST, meaning thereby service tax or excise. But the law is not getting changed. Say, for example, intermediary services. Now, in case of intermediary services, the law is not changed from a service tax regime to the GST regime. So all the judgments, whether it is a judgment of a GenPAC is there or any other judgment is there, they holds good because there is no change in the definition of intermediary services. So you have to give a jurisprudence. So there are various utilities available, as Manoj also mentioned, that there are the various utilities available which provides you the judgments. So it's very important that whenever you are preparing a reply, I was attending a program when one of my friend discussed that when you are preparing the reply, the 60% of your time should be on the planning phase. That, okay, what are the various judgments, notifications, circulars are relevant to your reply is something you need to plan, carve out, dig out, and then start preparing the reply is the golden rule. Then, my dear friend, the written arguments should be there. And then, my dear friend, you are aware that hearing at many occasions are become the formality because they will see that whatever you want to say, you have reiterated is something that is there. So it's very, very important, my dear friend, that we have to cover the future litigation. Now, my dear friend, there will be a common mistake. There will be a common mistake that you will not take all the pleas. Say, for example, you want to say that, okay, the penalty should not be there. Or you want to say that there should not be any invocation of the extended period. So, my dear friend, take all the pleas. Whatever is there in your mind. So, alternative plea. For example, you want to say that, okay, if you are not agreeing with this, my another plea on this aspect is this. So, my dear friend, it's very important that whatever the plea we wish to take, we have to take all the pleas at one point of one place. It should not be that, okay, in the next level or the higher level, I will take the next plea. No, my dear friend. You have to track all the future litigation. If you are not taking plea at a lower level, tomorrow on a higher level, you will not be able to take a new plea. So that is something that's very, very important for all of us to remember. Now, my dear friend, as I mentioned, you carefully read each and every line of the show cause notice to draft the reply. Carve out all the important points of the show cause notice or the allegations are there. Then, my dear friend, clarity must be obtained on what issue need to be drafted. So, what planning part is there that, okay, what I'm going to reply. Then, my dear friend, necessary research, as I mentioned you, the notification, circulars, case laws, rules, FAQs, everything you need to study. And then, my dear friend, you should pinpoint the ambiguity in the show cause notice. As I mentioned you, the word used or, may, like this. You should point that, okay, there is an ambiguity in the show cause notice as far as this is concerned. And then, my dear friend, it is very important that when we are making the reply, it should be simple, easy, and in a very lucid way that even a layman can understand. It should not be a case that at one point of time you are talking about the allegation number 6.1, then you are talking about the allegation number 8.1, then you are talking about the allegation number 6.2, and then you are talking about the allegation number 9.4. No, my dear friend, that will not be the case for you. My dear friend, the reply should be in such a lucid way, give examples, give diagrams, give tables in such a way that even a person who is not aware about the show cause notice or not aware about any law, he will be able to comprehend that what you want to say. Whether the honorable officer adjudicating authority will agree with you or not is something different, but you have to do your duty to make this reply in a very layman or a simple or a easy way. Then, my dear friend, as I mentioned, you quote all the necessary provisions, whichever there is in your mind, that you should also quote. Now, my dear friend, one important aspect is there that you have to make the reply concise as well. At the same time, when I'm saying that you have to reply, even if the show cause notice is for 40 pages, your reply should be of 50 pages. It should not be a case that, okay, you are replying only for 2 pages. No, that is wrong. That you should not be. But at the same time, you have to be concise. Again and again repeating the same thing, again and again saying the same thing will not help you out. Number one. Number two, the synopsis. That it's very important that you have to give an executive summary or a synopsis at the beginning of the reply that, okay, this is something I wish to say. So that somebody will read 2 pages and then interested will go to the rest of the pages, so that it will be an interest generation kind of an exercise. Then, my dear friend, don't make too concise. The relevant material, as I mentioned, you should be there, and skip irrelevant aspects and repeated submissions, as I shared with you. My dear friend, then proper supporting documents, as I mentioned, you should be attached. Reply should be self-explanatory. My dear friend, last slide which I wish to share with you before I take you some judgments, that the order traveling beyond the SCN, you should charge. In case there is no pre-show cause notice consultation. Right now, earlier it was shall. Now it is being converted into the may. So now it is not a mandatory requirement, but for the 17-18, it was a mandatory requirement. So in case there is no pre-show cause notice consultation held, you should challenge that show cause notice itself. Then the show cause notice issued without authority of law, meaning thereby the proper officer is not signing the show cause notice. Then also the extended period wrongly invoked, section 74 wrongly invoked, you should challenge. You should also give the ground for penalties to the department, and both the penalties under section 76, meaning thereby for the 73, show cause notice under section 73 and section 74 cannot be there. So both penalty cannot be there simultaneously. There is a settled law. Principle of natural justice, meaning thereby opportunity of being heard should be provided. Without the order will be bad. And if the non-speaking order is there, that also will be subject to challenge. My dear friend, if the show cause notice is not served directly, order is bad in law, you should challenge that. And in case the best judgment assessment is given or the rate is being wrongly used, that also you should be challenging with. Then, my dear friend, one last thing which I wish to share with you, the cum duty benefit. My dear friend, this is again a very, very important alternative plea that you should remember, that whenever you are making the reply, the last point which you should say without prejudice to above, meaning thereby, even if you will not agree with any of my point, if you are not agreeing with any of my point without prejudice to above, I wish to say that cum duty benefit should be given to me. Meaning thereby, if my activity, I feel that it is exempted activity, I not collected and paid the tax to the government exchequer. Today you are saying your activity is subject to GST. So whatever I have collected that, I collected 100 rupees only, not 118 rupees. So that 100 rupees should be treated as inclusive of tax. And then something you have to calculate, my dear friend, and that you should only asking for. So my dear friend, this is a very, very important point which you should specifically mention in your reply, so that tomorrow if you are not able to win the case at the higher forum, if you will take a cum duty benefit plea, then the higher forum will say, sorry, I will not be able to give you because you never pleaded the same before. So my dear friend, this is something that very, very important. Now, my dear friend, I just wish to share with you that few judgments which are, I will say, the recent judgment which are being given by the Honorable High Courts as far as the show cause notices are concerned. So there is a case of Agro Metal Vendibles Private Limited versus State of Gujarat, is a Gujarat High Court judgment available in the 2022 TAXO.online 386, wherein what happened, the intimation of tax liability to be issued in the form DRC-01 and not in the DRC-01. So notice what comes as intimation but issued in the DRC-01, which is bad in law. So my dear friend, it's very important that in case the intimation of tax liability is there, straightaway intimation of tax liability is there in the DRC-01, which is bad in law, is something that you can always challenge. Then, my dear friend, that there are the cases when the show cause notice are being issued by the department, but since they have mentioned the standard clause like this or maybe any other provision, but they have not striked off, that they have not striked off 74, but they issued the show cause notice citing both the section. Again, that is a bad in law. The show cause notice is an ambiguous show cause notice, which will be quest as given in the BLA project, the TAXO.online 216-2022. Then, my dear friend, SCN issued without mentioning any date and time to file the reply is again also not valid, as you can see in the Jajwan Kastha case of a 2022 TAXO.online 623. Then, my dear friend, few other judgments in case of a Nakas. What happened that the show cause notice was issued without striking of the relevant portion. So then there is another judgment as we discuss about the BLA. Then we have a case of a Sarvodaya impacts wherein the SCN did not specify any reason that how registration was obtained fraudulently. So what happened? There was an allegation in the show cause notice. Then the registration was obtained fraudulently, but there was no specific reason was not being given. So what happened that the Honorable High Court decided that this is bad in law. So show cause notice is a vague in nature and is not a valid one, and accordingly there was. So you can note down this citation 2023 TAXO online 608. Then, my dear friend, there is another judgment of Ultra Steel, which is available in the 614. SCN did not mention sufficient reason. So how I will be able to challenge? You have not given the why this demand is being created. So that's why it's again ambiguity is there in the show cause notice, which is supposed to be challenged. Then, my dear friend, there are the many judgments from the High Court, which are saying consistently that the intimation that the High Court across the country that the only way to intimate the taxpayer about the proceeding by issue of show cause notice and uploading the same. If you are getting the show cause notice through the email, that is not valid notice. So that has to be uploaded in the portal, and then only the show cause notice will be a valid show cause notice. So, my dear friend, there are judgment from a Shubham Gupta, 2023 TAXO online 984, Akash Garg 894, Ram Prasad Sharma 896. All these decisions are saying that the notice has to be uploaded on the common portal. The email of the show cause notice will not make it a valid show cause notice. Then, my dear friend, order cannot be passed without issue of show cause notice, as I mentioned you. So you can note down these three judgments from 301, 687, and 994. These are the three important orders wherein the summary of the order was passed, or the summary of the show cause notice was also issued. Summary of show cause notice issued, summary of order passed, not a valid one. So liable to be quashed. So, my dear friend, you can use the Unity Infra project, Ratan Industries, or a nursing in Ispat case, wherein the order cannot be passed without issue of show cause notice or only on the basis of the summary of the show cause notice. That is bad in law. And then, my dear friend, one very, very important judgment is there that in the ASMT 10, they raise a issue. For example, they issue whether X activity is subject to tax or not. But when the show cause notice was issued, it was issued on the Y activity. So, my dear friend, the Honorable High Court mentioned in this case of a Vedivil pet pyrotech that the show cause notice need to be precluded or should be preceded by the ASMT 10 if the issue is different. So, my dear friend, it's very important that in case there is a mismatch between the ASMT 10 and the show cause notice on the specific issue, then also the show cause notice will be liable to be set aside. So, my dear friend, this is all few judgments were there which I wish that I should be discussing with you. My dear friend, I covered the first case of a Sanjeev Kapoorji. The question which is being raised, is it mandatory for the department to issue DRC 01A for the 1718 before issuance show cause notice section 73? My dear friend, as I mentioned you that the DRC 01 is the mandatory requirement. Then, my dear friend, Raj Gopalji is asking a question. The assessing officer has issued ASMT notice in the form number 10 for the same financial year and twice for the same identical issue. So, my dear friend, you can always challenge if the same identical issue is there. But I just wish to share with you that the department can issue multiple ASMT 10 for the multiple issues for the same financial year. And then, my dear friend, the officer has issued ASMT 10. SSC replied to ASMT 10 in reply of ASMT 11. But the officer has issued DRC 01 issue instead of ASMT 12. So, my Raj Gopalji, as I explained you, that the department has to issue either the DRC 01 or they have to issue the ASMT 12. That is the only option. They can't issue the straight with the DRC 01A. Sir, can you please share the slide book? Gauravji is asking how to draft reply. So, I explained you everything around there. Who is the first appellate authority? Is the deputy commissioner or joint commissioner or commissioner of appeal? It depends on the that who passing the order. So, based on the passing the order, the jurisdiction, there will be the next level of authority who will be treated as a first appellate authority. Rajgopalji is asking a question that in section 129, the penalty is 200%. My dear sir, this is the law of the land, so I will not be able to say that, okay, this is right or wrong. Sir, I have filed a appeal application in form GST APL 01 before the appellate authority. I want to add some valid points, or I have to add some alteration in the earlier filed appeal. So, my dear friend, it's very, very important that the every SSC, when submitting the appeal or a reply of the show cause notice, there should be a standard language which should be used, that the SSC reserve the right to submit the additional information at the time of hearing. So, my dear friend, in case we will write that, then we have all right available to amend or to add or give certain additional detail whenever there will be the hearing of the show cause notice or the appeal, as the case may be. Can the PO go beyond the issue raised in the SCN at the time of personal hearing and ask for other statement? I just wish to share with you, Vinodji, the answer is no. At the time of hearing, you cannot travel beyond the SCN. So, in case the assessing officer is saying that no, I will ask you the demand in some other cases or some other statement or some other category, then that is not valid. You can always challenge that particular order when it traveled beyond the SCN. Can we seek adjournment for Assembly 10? The answer is yes, Samirji. Vijay Kumar Subramaniam ji is asking whether SCN can be issued for 17-18 after 30th September. The answer is yes. They can issue, but they have to invoke section 74 for the same. Please share the presentation. Can we get the presentation? No sign on DRC 01. You can always challenge if there is no sign. Vinayji. Anup ji asking, is there any time limit to invoke section 75-12? Okay, I will check, Anup ji, and I will reply you separately. Sumit Bhallaji is asking a question. In some cases, personal hearing is granted before the deadline to reply. And the same case, so you can always challenge. So it's not opportunity of being heard provided, Sumit ji. So you have all right available to contest this kind of aspect on the ground that there was no opportunity of being heard provided. So that is bad in law. Lalit Gargji is asking, your talk is just the nectar required for all the profession. It covered more practical aspect. I think you are organizing such a meaningful and relevant seminar, specifically in current season of notices. I request you to please keep organizing such kind of seminar for us. Thanks for practical and meaningful seminar. Thank you, Lalitji, for your kind words. So, my dear friend, then we have a kindly share the PPT. Deepak ji is asking, and Neha Gupta ji is saying, thank you very much, sir. Neha ji is saying, thank you very much, sir, for your smooth and wonderful deliberation on the complicated topic. Thank you, Neha ji, for your kind words. Vinay ji asking, as per section 281 of the Income Tax Act, notice has to be digitally signed. So, Vinay ji, I agree with you. So, that can be a point wherein you can challenge the validity of the show cause notice. So, I answered practically all the 21 questions which are being raised, Kajal ji and Manoj ji. I believe that there is no further question. So, I can stop my presentation. Now, I have received 2 more questions, I believe. How to listen the same again? Bhima ji is asking how to listen this same again. Maybe Kajal ji, in case you can upload this deliberation on some portal. So, and you can intimate to everybody, then the colleagues can see from there. Or you may be YouTube or whatever. I don't know how you will be able to showcase, run this video. Rajgopal ji, thank you for your kind words and appreciation. Thank you.
With that,
so
we come to the end.
I answered all the 27 questions.
Yes, sir. With that, we come to the end of this wonderful session today. I hope you all found the session informative and insightful. I would like to thank all the participants for their time today, for attending the webinar, and a special thank to today's speaker, CA Dr. Atul Kumar Gupta sir, for sharing his wonderful insights with all of us. It has been an honor and privilege to have you all with us. Have a lovely weekend ahead. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, everyone.